Presentation mode. So can you see the full screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So thank you again, everyone, for being here today. So I'm Dr. Rana El Khawand, and I'm very happy to participate in this international conference. My presentation is titled E-education and Gender Disparity in Jordan. So it is based on a qualitative study on educated women's limited access to the labor market. So it tackles e-education, e-governance, and policies around this. As I mentioned, it's a qualitative study that looks why highly educated women in Jordan, particularly in the STEM area, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, are still struggling to access the labor market to get a job, even with the rise of digital education. So, a bit of background. Jordan has made impressive progress in female education. This means that 56% of university graduates are women, but only 15.5% of them participate in the labor market. In fact, Jordan ranks second globally in terms of low female employment. So, this contradiction is even more visible in the STEM fields. Therefore, my research looks at why this gaps exists, and more specifically, why digital education hasn't helped close this gap. So, the main question guiding my research is, how do STEM educated Jordanian women understand the disconnect between their academic achievements and their limited employment opportunities? What I aimed for here is to explore the social and institutional barriers, but also understand the role of digital technology credentials and capture how these women interpret their own experiences. Here we are also analyzing participants' perception through a feminist informed narrative method. So I'll go through the methodology in a few. So my study is based on grounded feminist post-structuralism framework. So this is a theoretical framework that helps us understand how power and cultural norms shape women's access to work. Because here we are also talking a lot about culture in the Middle East and particularly in Jordan. So I used this feminist framework developed by two authors that are Birema and Chak to guide both the interviews and my data analysis. The whole theoretical framework centers on women's voices, and it highlights the role of invisible systems that exist within the Middle East, like bias and social expectations. And it's very, very interesting then to look at the results of my study. So here on the methodological note, I conducted qualitative research with four women working in STEM fields at a public university in Jordan. So my sample was based on women aged between 30 and 45, employed on a full or part-time basis at the university. So they are all PhD holders in the STEM field. So I used a purposive sampling strategy to ensure we hear from women who had deep academic training but limited labor market integration. On the data collection side, I used two tools. First, a digital tool, which is called SenseMaker. It's a digital platform that collects short personal stories and lets participants interpret their own experiences. Second, I conducted semi-structured interviews to go deeper and capture more context. So, as you may know, since we are collecting and analyzing data using technical tools, using a research tool, so this could lack the deepness of and the richness of the narrative. So that's why I complemented this with semi-structured and follow-up interviews. And in a way, this helped balance the speed and breadth of SenseMaker with the richness of traditional interviews. So we have a mixed method actually using the data that is collected from the tool and then the narratives later on. So since the narratives, as I mentioned, could lack the depth and richness found in qualitative interviews, so I went further and I interviewed these women. So through open-ended questions that revealed more honest, responsive that would be possible with more directed questioning. So this is more about gathering experiences about employment opportunities, gender roles, discrimination, and potential social issues. And then the analysis was made via MaxQDA. I used this to code the themes and the sentiments. The key findings. Very interesting here. I'll walk you through the four key findings of my research. So, first, digital progress outpaced social norms. So, one woman told me, my credentials are modern, but the mindset hasn't changed. A second one also highlighted that family expectations, family obligations were a major constraint. Another participant said that families support education, but only to a certain point. When it comes actually to pursuing careers, especially the one that involve traveling, so there are a lot of social expectations that pulls up on women. A third participant told me that institutions weren't ready to support digital work models. So, to a certain extent, remote learning was accepted, but remote working was still rejected. Um, so, this here you can see in my slide the percentage, and it's a relatively very high percentage. We have 87% of participants sharing that this mindset hasn't changed. 100% of them highlighted the family obligations, and other 87.5% talked about the lack of accommodating digital work models. Also, there was one of the results who talked about work-life balance and cultural obligations. So many women faced deep work-life imbalance due to cultural pressures. So they were expected to carry the full weight of domestic responsibilities, the children, the house, and this influenced a lot on career decisions. So if you're not also very familiar with the Middle East, so there is a lot of family expectations on women, the honor codes, the marital roles. The professional ambition of women may be seen as kind of socially disruptive for them. The fourth finding is that e-education is still not credible within institutions. So, 75% of participants highlighted that e-education offers credentials, but it's not credible as employment outcomes. So, wasn't digital education wasn't taken seriously by employers, and this is a problem in our technical and digital world, and we're moving so fast on the digital side, but still there are still part of the world who are doubting and dismissing the online degrees. So some women said that online degrees were dismissed or seen as less valid, and this created what I call the digital paradox, meaning that education is advancing but employment is not. Then I went into analyzing the use of the words. So here you can see a lot of participants talked about discrimination, gender, stereotype, bias, patriarchal expectations. So these have a a lot of weight on women's career. On the emotional side, I also analyzed the sentiments of women. So 58% mentioned negative sentiments related to this issue, like frustration, fatigue, limited hope. So the emotional toll was very clear. So using sentiment analysis, I found that women shared these negative frustration, fatigue, resignation, and very few were hopeful. So this actually reflects how exhausting it is to work hard to earn degrees and still not be given a fair chance of employment. Now, on the limitation side of my study, so of course, this study has limitations. First, it's based on a small sample from one university, so it's not representative of all women in Jordan. It also relies on self reported voices and stories, which may carry some bias, as you may know. But even with these limits, the insights are powerful and consistent with broader trends in the region. Also, one of the limitations of the study that the findings are deeply rooted in Jordan's unique sociocultural and economic contexts, which, as mentioned, may not be applicable to other regions with differing norms and systems. Now, jumping to the recommendation, which is the most exciting part of the research. So, based on what I found, I suggested, and I do suggest, a phased approach to reform. So, I highlighted these in short and medium and long term. So, in the short term, we need to work a lot on media campaigns and flexible work policies. In the medium term, we need to work on accreditation systems for online learning and gender models in e governance training. And in the long term, we need full integration of gender responsive labor policies and national digital inclusion tools. On the policy innovations, I'm proposing two key innovations. So, first, I'm proposing to establish a national gender digital inclusion task force by bringing together governments, universities, and civil society to co-design policies on the national side. Second, I'm proposing to create a gender inclusion barometer using tools like SenseMaker, the one that I use, to monitor women's real time experiences and track progress on digital labor inclusion. Since technology, as you may know, is helping a lot, so we can use technology to improve women's life and access to labor opportunities. So here also, to be effective, change has to happen at all levels. So I went into the different levels. So at the family level, we need more male allyship. So gender inclusion does not mean working only with women and towards women, but it also means involving men. And here we need more male allyship. At the individual level, women need mentorship and mental health support programs. At the organizational level, labor laws and hiring practices must be reformed to include a gender quota, for instance, in the hiring practices. And at the policy level, we need coordinated action across labor and across education. On the scholarly and practical contributions, so my study makes both academic and practical contributions. So it applies feminist theory to the Middle East, and this is something that is still rare in digital labor research. It also introduces a new method combining self interpreted narratives with policy tools. And finally, it provides a concrete roadmap for inclusive digital development. In conclusion, education alone is not enough to empower women in Jordan's workforce. So, with institutional change and cultural reform, digital education will remain a false promise. So, what we need here, We need a feminist informed policy or policies and inclusive digital governance to turn access into opportunity. So this is not only and not just about women's rights, it's about also national development and ultimately international development. So, what can be done next? Universities need to build stronger links with employers and formally recognize digital credentials. Governments and donors need to support participatory reforms, especially those informed by lived experience and feminist research. And they also need to align these with national digital transformation agenda, such as the Jordan Vision 2025 and the National Jordanian ICT Strategy. Thank you very much for your attention. So I'd be happy to take any questions or feedback. You can also reach me at rana.elkhawand@gmail.com.